I refused to be intimidated. After Brian and I curtailed Mary's visits, peace returned to our home, but it was fragile, like the hush before another storm. The sense of relief was quickly overshadowed by an uneasy feeling that something wasn't right. It started innocuously. One day, as I loaded groceries into the car at the supermarket, a prickling sensation crawled up my spine. Someone was watching me. My gaze darted around the parking lot until it landed on a man standing at the edge of the lot. His posture was casual, but his eyes were unmistakably fixed on me. I tried to brush it off as paranoia. Maybe he was waiting for someone, maybe I was imagining things, but the feeling lingered, shadowing me like a second skin. Days later, as I sipped coffee at a small cafe near our house, I saw him again. This time, he was seated at a nearby table, feigning interest in a newspaper. Yet, I couldn't ignore how often he glanced in my direction. My pulse quickened, my hands trembling slightly as I tried to focus on my book. By the third time I spotted him, standing across the street from our home, his face partially obscured by the brim of a baseball cap. Panic took root. This was no coincidence. Someone was following me. That evening, I confided in Brian as we sat on the couch. There's this man. I keep seeing him, Brian, at the supermarket, the cafe, even outside our house. I think he's following me. Brian frowned, concern etched on his face. Are you sure it's the same guy? Maybe it's just stress. You've been on edge lately. Why don't you take a break? Do some yoga or something to clear your mind. Though his rationality annoyed me, I reluctantly agreed. Perhaps I was imagining things. I threw myself into yoga and meditation, hoping the breathing exercises would quiet the storm in my mind, but the sense of being watched never faded. Determined to confront my fears head-on, I went back to the supermarket, and there he was, standing near the entrance, his gaze darting toward me before quickly averting. My heart raced, but this time, I didn't back down. Gripping my phone, I marched up to him. "Why are you following me? Who are you?" I demanded, holding my phone up as if to record him. The man flinched, clearly startled. "I don't know what you're talking about," he muttered, stepping back. "I've already called the police," I lied, my voice sharp and unyielding. His panic was instant. "Wait, listen, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm a private investigator. I can't tell you more." My chest tightened, the weight of his words sinking in. A private investigator? Who would hire someone to follow me? Later that evening, in the dim light of our driveway, Brian cornered the man as he loitered near our house, grabbing him by the arm. Brian's voice was firm and commanding. "Who are you working for? Tell me, or I'm calling the cops." Pressed against the wall, figuratively and literally, the man cracked. "Your mother," he confessed. "She hired me. She wanted evidence of infidelity, but I found nothing. There's nothing to find." Brian's face hardened, his anger barely contained as he pulled out his phone. Moments later, he was on the line with Mary. "Mom, this is insane. You hired someone to spy on Cheryl? That's it, don't come near us again. You're not welcome here." The next day, Brian wasted no time. He installed security cameras around our home, his frustration fueling his every move. "I don't know what else she might try, but I'm not taking any chances," he said grimly. Amid the chaos, Brian surprised me with an idea: a vacation. "Just us, no distractions, no drama," he said. We escaped to a quaint beach town where the sound of waves replaced the tension that had plagued us. For the first time in months, I felt truly at peace, lounging under the sun with a novel while Brian collected seashells nearby. When we returned home, life seemed brighter, especially when I discovered something miraculous: I was pregnant. After years of trying and enduring Mary's criticism, the joy of this revelation was overwhelming, but it was tinged with a fierce protectiveness. "Let's only tell my parents for now," I told Brian. "I don't want Mary's negativity to ruin this." He agreed, sharing my determination to keep this precious secret safe. Working from home made it easier to conceal my growing belly. I swapped out fitted tops for loose, flowy dresses and avoided public outings. At my next checkup, I voiced my concerns about my small bump. The doctor reassured me with a kind smile. "Every pregnancy is different, Cheryl. As long as the baby is healthy, you're fine." As the weeks passed, our little secret became a source of quiet joy. Brian and I spent evenings in the nursery, dreaming aloud. "Let's paint it yellow," he suggested one night. "Yellow's perfect," I agreed, imagining the room filled with sunshine and laughter. This bubble of happiness was ours, untouched by the chaos outside, and for now, that was all we needed. The afternoon sun bathed the park in a warm golden glow as I strolled along its winding paths. Classic rock melodies flowed through my headphones, crafting a soothing backdrop for my leisurely escape. The gentle rustle of leaves in the breeze seemed to harmonize with the music, heightening the tranquility I relished after a demanding morning spent debugging code for an app one was developing. Working remotely had its perks, chief among them, the luxury of tackling tasks in pajama pants well into the day. Lost in thought and lyrics, I rounded a bend near the massive old oak tree that stood like a sentinel of time. The collision was abrupt, jarring me out of my reverie. It felt as though I'd walked straight into a brick wall. My phone flew out of my hand, my headphones were yanked from my ears, and a startled gasp escaped me as I stumbled backward. "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry," I blurted, hurriedly brushing off my jeans as I scrambled to my feet. Before I could fully process what had happened, the brick wall resolved into a young man about my age. Tousled brown hair framed a face that wore an expression of equal parts surprise and amusement. He crouched to retrieve my phone, his movements unhurried as though assuring me he meant no harm. "No worries," he said, his voice light and easy. A faint smile tugged at his lips as he handed my phone back. "Unscathed, but you might want to keep an eye on where you're walking next time. Jamming out can be hazardous." I let out a sheepish laugh, both at his gentle teasing and my own clumsiness. "Thanks, and yeah, guilty as charged. I'm Cheryl, by the way," I offered, still feeling slightly embarrassed but grateful for his good humor. "Brian," he replied, his eyes crinkling with a friendly warmth. He glanced at my phone, curiosity sparking. "Nice playlist, by the way, looks like you've got great taste in music." The compliment drew a grin from me. "Well, I like to think so," I said, brushing a strand of hair from my face. It was then I noticed the frisbee in his other hand, its edges slightly scuffed. "Do you play?" I asked, nodding toward it. "Yeah, I was supposed to meet some friends for a game, but they bailed last minute. Guess it's just me now," he said with a shrug, then tilted his head. "Unless you want to give it a try?" I hesitated, the idea both intriguing and a little daunting. "Honestly, I've never played," I admitted, then added with a grin, "but I'm up for trying something new. Why not?" His face lit up with enthusiasm. "Awesome, don't worry, I'll teach you the basics." For the next hour, we tossed the frisbee back and forth, laughter punctuating our attempts, well, mostly my attempts, to master the game. Brian was patient, quick to laugh at his own fumbles, and surprisingly easy to talk to. We fell into a rhythm, our conversation weaving seamlessly between topics like favorite bands, childhood stories, and the shared quirks of working in tech. He was an engineer at a local startup, which sparked even more lively discussion. As the sun dipped lower, painting the sky in hues of amber and rose, Brian glanced at his watch. "Are you hungry?" he asked, tossing the frisbee into a bag slung over his shoulder. "There's a cafe just across the street. They make killer sandwiches. Want to join me?" I hadn't realized how much the activity, and our non-stop chatter, had stirred my appetite. "Sure," I said, my smile widening, "but if they have chili fries, I'm calling dibs, just a heads up." He laughed, a deep, infectious sound. "Noted, but I can't promise I won't steal a fry when you're not looking." We walked to the cafe, the warm glow of the day now giving way to the soft hum of streetlights flickering on. Over dinner, the conversation continued to flow effortlessly. By the time we parted ways, Brian had asked for my number, and I'd handed it over with a grin, feeling that unmistakable spark of something new and exciting. As I made my way home, my headphones back in place and classic rock softly playing once more, I couldn't stop smiling. Sometimes, the best moments come when you're not looking for them, like when you're too caught up in music to notice the start of something extraordinary.